fans, I know plenty fiends. Bitch, I'm chasing goals, I ain't chasing dreams. A lot of people stuck in a place they never seen. It's a cold world, best friends turn to enemies. People come, people go, a lot of memories. Ain't no second chances, bitch, this ain't Jeopardy. The hug got my back, cause they know I got the recipe.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Pillar Talk, episode 150. We're here with Coach K.
150. How you guys doing
150. Today? And we're here with Matt.
What's going on?
Man of God. Yes, sir. He's a man of God, but he's not afraid to whoop that ass.
Not at all.
In the ring, of course. In the ring. So, pick that mic up.
Let me.
So, those of us that know you, we know you. But for the people that are just tuning in, tell us who you are. You can start from when you were a little kid and tell us who you are. Tell us who Matt is.
All right. Well, as a lot of people know me, I'm Matthew Niziolek, aka MOG, Man of God. And by the way, let's put an emphasis on Man of God. It's not MOG or somebody else's name.
MOG.
It's MOG. It's MOG, Man of God. Let's make that clear. But I come from Detroit, Michigan. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I'm not from Monroe. A lot of people will say I'm from Monroe because I've been here for so long. I've been here 16 years now. 17 come January 7th. It'll be 17 years I've been here. But I come from Detroit, Michigan. I was born Zone 8, which if anyone knows anything about Detroit, that's the worst of the worst.
Mm-hmm.
I'm highly favored by God. I tell people that, and they ask me why. Well, why do you think you're favored by God? Well, I've looked in the eyes of death 2 days after being born, and for me, that's big because that wasn't the only time. It was 4 other instances in my lifetime that I've looked in the eyes of death, Anyway, grew up Hamtramck, Michigan, the majority of my childhood. A lot of good times, a lot of bad times, seen a lot of dark things that I probably shouldn't have seen. And then after my first 3 months of freshman year of high school, my mother moved us to Monroe. She didn't give us any warning. We come home from school one day and she said, "Hey, start packing your room up. We're moving to Monroe."
That was it, huh?
That was it.
That's quick.
I'm like, wait a minute. Like,
Right.
What's Monroe? What is that? And so we ended up moving to Monroe November of 2002. And for me, that was a rough transition. You go from a very diverse city and school district to a predominantly 99.9% white school district, right? We moved over into the beach area, so we went to Jefferson.
Okay.
And if anybody knows anything about that side of Monroe, it may not be that way now, but back then it was rough. I dealt with a lot of
I get it.
Racism, right?
There was maybe 2 black kids in the school.
Man,
when I went there. And it was about the same time you were there, maybe a little
Okay.
bit after.
What year were you there?
With Joe.
You graduated with Joe. Okay, so you were a year behind me. Okay. So I won't drop any names, but I dealt with a lot of racism every single day. Every day. And for me, that is like I don't know how to deal with that because that's the first time I've dealt with it.
Right.
In Detroit, it's we've had our fights and street fights and everything where they had the BTO, the Bengali takeover, and we fought in that. It was the blacks against the Albanians and the Bosnians and Arabs, and it was like, man, why? I didn't understand it, but I was a fighter, so that's what I was just doing. I was fighting. Hey, we fighting? Okay, we fighting. But in Monroe, it was like my mom said, sticks and stones, Matt. It's hard or it's easy for you to say. You're not me. You're not having to deal with this. You know what I'm saying? It's a culture shock, every single day.
Every day.
And I come from getting, having a 3.6 GPA in Detroit to coming to Monroe and having like 1.7.
Really?
So
just from all that
from
culture
racism,
change
just
and
the
all
culture
the stuff
change,
dealing with.
It's
crazy.
The education part of it, I didn't have a problem adjusting to. It was just the culture
It's the
shock,
outside
and
stuff.
then everything I'm dealing with. So mentally, on me as a 15-year-old young black kid is like, what do I do with this? There's nothing to do with it. So, I ended up leaving. 17 years old. I'll holler at y'all later.
Just from the first few minutes though, like people like you, man, are super important. And because like, so when you grow up in that sort of environment, right? And I don't care if it's black, white, blue, green, if you grow up in that sort of environment around that sort of stuff, you either go one of two ways, right? When you go to the stop sign, you either go left or you go right at the stop sign.
Absolutely.
And sadly, a lot of times people don't go the correct way, right? So people like you, man, just for young people to be able to, I'm a coach, so for me, everything comes from a coaching or a teacher perspective, right?
Okay.
So to me, that's like you're man, super important. Just to kind of go off of that initial story, man, that's wild to me. That's incredibly important, especially for our young guys. Somebody that went through not just racism, but all the stuff that you dealt with, even growing up in Detroit. And then for you to come out where you're at now, some stuff we talked about before the show, be a successful father, have the boxing career that we're going to touch on here soon. But that's just awesome, man. Just got to give you a shout out for all that.
I appreciate that.
I got to say, you said earlier that you're favored by God, right? And now
absolutely,
I heard Mike Tyson. There's a famous quote now. He says, if you're favored by God, you know what that means, right? You're favored also by the devil.
By the devil. Yeah.
So tell us.
You want to touch on that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So some people may not understand what that means, right? So in my opinion, I've stared death in the face 5 times in my lifetime, right? I have gone through trials and tribulations in life that some wouldn't make it out of, wouldn't survive. I've had to survive in the winter. And a matter of fact, we were just talking about this a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
I've had to survive in the winter when it was brutally cold outside. First, I was living out of my car. I lost my car because it broke down. I couldn't pay for it to get fixed. So I lost that car. So now I'm sleeping on a park bench. Right over at what's that park over there on Front Street here? Soldiers and Sailors, is that what it is?
I'm
right here on Front Street, East Front.
I'm bad with names.
Okay.
Yeah, park name. I know what park you're talking about, but
I remember the name of schools.
There was a bench over there and I slept on. I remember a cop coming up to me one night and was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" So I'm just sleeping. You don't have a home to go to? I said, "No, I don't." He said, "Well, you can't sleep here." So I walked Monroe in the middle of the night, freezing cold, right?
What year is this?
This is 2007.
Okay.
2007. So it's just shy of a year of me being back in Monroe.
So that's actually 2 years after you graduated.
This is about 2 years after I graduated. Okay. Right. And my plans weren't always to come back to Monroe. I had different plans, but God has the ultimate plan, right? So it's 2 years after graduation, and I'm walking. I'm tired of walking, so I end up over at this bridge over here on Winchester, right? I slept under that bridge for the night. While sleeping under that bridge, there's 3 alcoholics there. Maybe one's a drug user. I'm not sure. What I do know is that I woke up the next morning to a dead body about 10 feet away from me. I'm like, man, I got to do something. This ain't me. This is not. I got to do something.
Mind you, remember, it's in the middle of the.
It's in the middle of the winter, right? I don't have a car. I lost my car. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a home.
And you're seeing that type of stuff.
And I seen that, and I'm like, this ain't this. This can't be it.
Is that the moment?
This is the moment where it's like, all right, you're in this situation. Why are you in this situation? A lot of people, first thing they go to is, if I didn't have this going on, or if this person wouldn't, playing the victim role and everything.
Right.
But for me, it was like, okay, let's dissect this situation. Why are you in this situation? What about you? What did you do? What did you say to land you in this situation? Right. At that time,
that was the moment where things changed.
It was things got to change.
Yep.
I was freshly 20 years old, and you know, as a 20-year-old man, everybody's been there. You know, that pride, your ego gets to you and like, no,
Everybody, you know better than
you know better
everybody.
than everybody. You're invincible,
Yep.
right?
And you're not
You don't
doing
need
nothing
anybody.
wrong. Yep.
Exactly. Until you actually need somebody.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? At that time, my friend, who is a mutual friend of me and my sister, Daniel Montague, he and his mother more so, took me in. She lives over on Michigan Avenue, but she took me in. She didn't know me at all whatsoever, but she treated me as if I was her own son. She opened her entire house to me, said, make yourself at home. So for 3 months, I lived with her. Once it got warm, I said, listen, I appreciate everything, but it's time for me to go. You know, it's time for me to go, right? To this day, I can stop by and it's all love, you
I
know.
love that.
But that was the turning point for me is you know, at some point in life, every man has to come to the conscious decision that you're either gonna make your mark in this world or you're gonna be another statistic, right?
What a point.
And where I come from, the only statistic is
What a point.
you're a young black man, you're from the ghetto. The only thing for you in life is prison or the grave. I didn't go either route, right? I'm the first one in my family to graduate high school. One of my only cousins, one of many of my cousins to ever go to college, right?
You got me beat.
I mean, but see, it's not a competition,
Right.
Because
Yep.
every one person has his or her only their journey. You know, who am I to say you didn't go to college? I'm better than you.
Correct.
God just had other plans for you.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And I heard this older gentleman say on a video a little while back. He said, the younger generation gets so caught up in going everywhere fast, but they miss the journey on the way.
Yep.
You get to your destination, you can't look back and say, oh man, I remember this. I remember when I did that. Oh, I had so much fun here and there. You can't do that because you're in such a rush to get to that destination. What happens when you get to that destination? Then what?
I got a
Then
quote
what?
on my
Right.
Facebook that's very similar. I forget who the original quote is, but you don't climb the mountain to be seen. You climb the mountain to see the view.
Exactly.
So the world sees you.
Exactly.
I mean, so you
So
see,
you
the,
see the
world,
world.
not the world seeing you. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then for me, on top of that, put your hand down. Be the ladder for those coming behind you.
Facts.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And that's another statistic within my culture. And some people might get mad, but anybody that know me know I'm not afraid of making people upset or uncomfortable.
Yep.
Okay.
They're important conversations.
It's important conversations, and I feel like it's not touched on enough. In my culture, we can blame whoever we want to blame. And don't get me wrong, I see, and I'm not naive nor ignorant to what's going on in the real world. But we can point the finger at everybody else, but we have a hard time looking in the mirror. You see what I'm saying?
I think at this point, a lot of more people are having that issue.
A lot of people
Most
are having
people.
that issue.
Yeah.
You know, because it's more of a competition amongst everybody. You see,
It's not only that, but it's like, how could I be wrong? It's that type of thing. Like you said, the pointing the fingers instead of doing what you did.
Yeah.
And take accountability for yourself and look at what I can do, what I can do better, not what you can do better.
Right.
And when you start with yourself, that now you can help other people when you've made yourself better.
Exactly.
You can stand strong.
Exactly. You know, and even with that, and I know I'm all over the place right now.
No, we're gravy.
But
you're good. It's a great conversation, man.
You know, even with that is, you know, I learned the hard way with that because I was always the yes man to everybody around me, family, friends, whoever. You know, hey man, I'm down and out. Can you help me? Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I got you. I need this. I got you. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna pay. Don't worry about paying me back. I'm good. Because that's genuinely who I am. I'll help anybody. I'll give you the shirt off my back. I don't expect it in return. You know what I'm saying? But there comes a time where you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of anybody else. I told my brother this the other night. When you're on an airplane, if anyone ever been on an airplane, right? The pilot comes over the intercom and he tells you, one of the things he tells you, first things first about safety, is that in case of an emergency, the mask will dispense from the ceiling. Put your mask on first before you help someone else, even your child, your own child, flesh and blood sitting right next to you. Put your mask on first before you help that child. And that's because how can you help someone else survive if you're dying in the process? I have to make sure that I'm living in order to help you and make sure you live.
Yep.
Same thing in life.
You
see what I'm
what a
saying?
way to put that.
Same thing in life.
That's a great way to put
You have
that.
to make sure, and I am one, I need to take my own advice sometimes because I help everybody before I make sure I'm good, before everything. I don't have to sit here and say, oh yeah, I did this for that person, I did that for that. I don't have to speak on it, but I'm gonna touch on it because many people need to have this same mindset. Life is just like being on an airplane, right? When things are getting rough and there's turbulence, you have to make sure that you are going to survive before you can make sure that the next person survives. Which what that means is you have to make sure that your priorities, your household, your children are taken care of before you help the next household. Because if not, right, you go to help that household, but then when you're in need, what happens? A lot of the times there's no one there to help you.
Right. There's nothing for you to fall on.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
There's no safety net for you. And then what? You lose out and they keep going on about their lives. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah.
It's just something for people to think about, but what I was touching on, earlier, is that within a culture, we're quick to point the finger, but at the same time, we're afraid to look in the mirror, right? Because what that mirror will show is that if I see, let's say let's take rappers for instance, right? If I'm blowing up in the rap world and everything, and I know I got some people back in the hood, they trying to make it out, they good and they're rapping and everything like that. They're reaching their hand up maybe, or just throw me on stage, let me do one set, right? And I slap their hand away or I tell them no. That's going to create resentment, right? So now instead of me being on this platform, being able to help someone else get their career off the ground, now I've created animosity. See what I'm saying? And who knows who that person knows? Who knows what's going to
Come out of
be
that.
served from that soup that I'm stirring up?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And all I had to do is say, I made it. I got you. Come here, let me show you something. Let me introduce you to somebody that's going to introduce you to somebody else that's going to put you where you need to be. Right?
I agree.
So it's that whole ladder thing. The whole mountain. I made it to the top. The view is great. What's that view without someone to share it with?
Fact.
Doesn't necessarily have to mean a significant other.
Right.
It could be anybody in the world that's close and they got their hand out. Reach down and grab that hand. You know what I'm saying? Don't be selfish. Share that moment. Share that view.
Yep.
And a lot of times as humans, all humans, we become selfish sometimes. We don't want to share that view. We don't want to share that platform, and it may make people resent you.
It's because of fear.
Fear
Fear
that the
drives
spotlight will be taken off of you.
Because not us, but if I pull you up, you could be better than me. And eventually that's a big thing in the coaching world, right? A lot of people are afraid. A lot of coaches are egotistical. I'll just be real. And they're hardcore control freaks, right? Yeah. And I'll always admit this, all coaches to a degree have a little bit of that in them, right? Because we want, for example, I believe, what I do offensively and defensively is going to work, right? Because I'm just going to be confident in it. So there is that. But at the same time, it's like, coaches are super afraid at times to like, I don't want to move this guy. Cause certain guys, you just know, cause you don't want to move that guy up because that guy got potential, right?
Mhm.
And I got to protect my job here and and that's all of a sudden, if I go 3-6, this guy might have my job next season, right?
Right.
You see different things like that. And as a coach, like it's crazy to me, man. Like I'm about like, bro, who can we I just brought on 2 guys to the middle school staff who graduated. They played for me, good kids. Now they're back because they want to start coaching. I'm trying to put on as many people as I can while
Absolutely.
continuing to elevate myself. But like you said, come on, man, we can. It's too many. A lot of the stuff we're doing is too much need for it to where you can have more than one person on that mountain.
Right.
Right. No
Absolutely.
matter what is, whether it's spreading positivity, coaching, whether it's the podcast, whether it's boxing and the stuff you're doing, like
Right.
whatever it is, man, there's room for everybody on the mountain for all of us to have success and be inspiration and all them different things. So no,
Absolutely.
I love it, man. But I think one important message that I'll keep it short, but I think it's important is you have talked about, and I think it's super big to point this out, the balance between taking care of oneself and having that perfect amount of selfishness,
Mhm.
and then also using that once you're in good shape to like bring everybody with you. And I think that's a super big point.
Absolutely.
Because both those things are true. I find it with my life, man. I got run down like crazy last summer. I've told him this, and then I was like, I was gone for a few months, man, where it felt like I was just dragging down. And it's like, man, if I don't take care of me, I can't take care of them, you
Right.
know? But at the same time, once you get to that point, you do so much for everybody around you. So it's the big message, man.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yes,
Let's
it is.
let's swing this into the direction of boxing now, right?
Okay.
So tell us where that began. When did you start boxing?
So remember I told you guys I moved back to Monroe in 2007, January 7th of 2007. I found boxing. Well, I found boxing originally as a kid, right? When I would go with my dad, during the summer, I would go down to Kronk Boxing Gym and I'll watch them. Emmanuel Stewart
Shout
was
out.
down there at the time. Shout out Kronk Boxing.
Yup, big time.
Emmanuel Stewart was down there at the time, and but he had all of these guys, these pro guys, these top elite fighters. For the first week, I was just sitting there watching. I was amazed.
I was about to say.
man, like I'm a fighter, I'm a street fighter at this time, but it's like I'm still young, but these guys are just
It's different technique,
different.
detail, speed.
It was different. So I fell in love with boxing at an early age, and then when I moved back to Monroe, my brother Dave, shout out to Dave Earl Abrams. He was the first guy, by the way, who befriended me when I moved to Monroe. When my mom moved us to Monroe in 2002, he was the first guy to befriend me and actually saved me. He saved me. I'll just say that he saved me when I was in school. But that's my brother. That's man, we pushing 22 years strong come 2024, But he actually told me, he said, man, you need to go see this guy, Todd Riggs, at the church.
Shout out to the GOAT.
Todd Riggs, that's my guy.
That's the
That
GOAT.
is my guy.
Yo.
So I said, who's Todd Riggs? He said, it's the boxing coach here in Monroe. I'm like, really? I'm like, yeah, introduce me. So we go to church on a Sunday, and Todd has got this like a turquoise pinstripe suit on. And when I say Todd, listen, Todd, every Sunday, he's got a different color suit, the shoes to match, the socks to match, everything, right? He's got on this turquoise pinstripe suit, cream and turquoise, shoes. I'm like, man, that's Todd. That's the boxing coach. He said, yeah, man. So I said, okay, well, let's go meet him then, And I met him. He said, yeah, champ. So you want to box, huh? He said, you don't play boxing. I said, I don't plan on playing. I said, when you start? He said, well, we're in the gym Monday through Friday, 5 to 7. I said, I'll be there tomorrow. I showed up. This is 2007, September of 2007. I showed up and started training right away. So that's when it started, September of 2007. And it's been going strong for almost 17 years now. And I've been with Todd every step of the way. Every step of the way. I had 20 amateur fights, not many, as a fighter. And then, I had a late start in my pro career. I was 35 when I turned pro, 34, right? And you know, it was a late start, but like I said, you know, in a podcast that I did after my pro debut, God always has a plan. So, in the way I look at it, as he was protecting me from something. It wasn't meant for me to go pro when I wanted to multiple times. He was protecting me from something.
Ready for it.
I wasn't ready for it.
Yep.
Mentally, I know I wasn't ready for it mentally. You know, I psyched myself out a couple times, you know, before fights, you know. And other times it was people got in my head and messed with my mental state. So that played a role. But those 12 times that I was victorious, I was victorious by far. By far. There was no one that can get in my head at that point, you know, at that time of those fights, you know. So we're reaching, coming up on 17 years now, you know, and I'm a pro fighter here out of Monroe, Michigan. And we are 5-1 with that only loss, the one and only loss, highly controversial.
Tell
But
us about it a little bit.
so I fought in Toledo, and I fought a guy by the name of James Wesley, who I recently fought here in Monroe back in November. You know, from start to finish, there was just dirty tactics. You know, 6 low blows were thrown. I was hit with 4, which in turn did some damage to where I had to have hernia repair surgery following that fight. They didn't give me the fight, you know, even though I outpunched this guy. You know, it was scored in his favor. I was mad for a minute. I was more upset at the fact that the low blows weren't called. Right. That was what I was most upset about. Right. I could take a loss.
Your sport's
know.
a little questionable when it comes to the judging now.
You know, and it is.
I'll
But
shoot.
I
hey,
have to say,
no,
Just
listen.
recently.
very recent, right? And I'll be the first to admit, like, politics plays a major role in every professional sport,
Definitely
even college
does.
sports.
Absolutely does.
But in boxing, politics are like an all-time high. You know,
I've seen Floyd win a few
and-
fights that I was like,
yeah, and a lot of people will say
undefeated
yeah,
streaks are nice, but
right. But so politics definitely plays a role. But like I said, the only reason I was upset is the fact that the low blows didn't call, and I had to have surgery.
Yep.
Like a doctor had to cut
right,
on
that'd
me
piss me off, right?
in
and
order
you had to miss some time.
and I had to. So from that, I fought him June 4th of last year. I had the surgery. They couldn't get me in for the surgery until August 3rd of that same year. So I had that surgery. It was only supposed to be a 6-week recovery. What it ended up taking me 11 weeks, right? Because the stitches had come undone. You know what I mean? So we're talking about 11 weeks, right? And then I was supposed to fight December of last year. 2 weeks prior to the fight, I ended up suffering a major injury, you know, so that kept me from fighting. Turn over to 2023, I fought in February, fought a guy from Chicago, originally from Chicago. I'm not sure. He's somewhere here in Michigan now. But I fought him, beat him, stopped him, you know, and then in April, I fought again, beat that guy. That guy probably shouldn't have been in the ring with me in the first place, but I beat him. Then took the summer off and I was just working. And then I'm like, you know what? I need to get this revenge match done and over with because it's the only thing I could think about. So I let Todd know, like, hey, you know, let's get James Wesley for this upcoming fight. You know, see if they'll come to Monroe. You know, if they do, let's do it.
This was the one at the ALCC, right?
This is the one at ALCC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And needless to say, I showed up and I showed out.
I love it.
I showed up and showed out.
Victorious.
I love it.
Victorious by far.
Yep.
Unanimous.
Yep.
So tell me this, man. Before I forget this question as we're talking, how old are you?
I would be 37 on the 23rd, believe it or not.
Okay. So
You know,
37, you have
This week.
This
been
week
going through
this
some
Saturday. Yep.
Nice.
I'll be
Happy
37.
birthday,
Birthday.
right.
I'll see you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's just with all that being said, everything you went through, all the injury, the couple injuries, what do you do to kind of keep, like, as far as taking care of yourself, your mind, your body? What are you doing to keep this longevity after going through all that stuff?
Well, first, I try to eat as clean as possible.
Okay.
You know, lately I've been slacking a little bit. We ain't gonna tell nobody though.
I feel that.
But but the main thing is eating clean, or as clean as possible, and being in tune with your body. You know,
Elaborate on that if you could.
so being in tune with your body is like, before I get sick, I know 3 days prior before I get sick. You know what I'm saying? That's how in tune I am with my body. A lot of people will say, "Oh man, he cap." No, 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 no. When you take care of your body will tell you things if you listen.
That's real.
If you listen,
100%.
right? So I'm so in tune with my body that I know 3 days prior to me getting sick, I pay attention to my body. I pay attention to what my gut does, right? I pay attention to how long it takes for me to eat a full meal for it to completely digest. You know, I pay attention to that. If you pay attention to your gut will tell you everything you need to know about your body.
Yep.
Anything, any disease that you come down with, any sickness that you come to, it starts in the gut, right? And I'm gonna say,
that. I'm glad you're
I-
saying that.
Yeah,
I'm
what
not
a
gonna say it
great
starts in the
message.
gut. Let me rephrase that. Diseases start in the mucus. Okay. If you pay attention to your body, when you get sick, okay, let's say you coming down with a common cold, right? Which isn't a bad thing, by the way. Getting a cold, getting sick, catching, that's not bad, because that is just your body working to release toxins. Okay. But when you get sick, one of the first symptoms you notice is mucus build up in the bottom of your throat.
Yep.
And you start to get a sore throat,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
The whole time you're sick, you're coughing up phlegm, which is mucus,
Yep.
thick mucus that has a lot of bacteria in it, right? So those diseases and sicknesses, it starts in the mucus, right? But I'm so in tune with my body that 3 days prior to getting that buildup of mucus in the bottom of my throat, I know I'm about to get sick. So I start prepping myself. Okay, let me go and get this green tea with the probiotics and ginger in it. Let me get some slices of lemon and some raw organic honey. Let me start drinking this tea 3-4 times a day, right? I drink it while it's hot, because it gets in there and it breaks everything down. You can't drink cold tea and expect everything to be good.
People don't understand that.
They don't understand it. They want to wait till it's like really
in
lukewarm.
cold water, and
Yeah.
they think they're getting more dishes clean.
No.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Yep.
So I start prepping myself, and like I said, if you take care of your body will take care of you as you get older. I am fortunate enough, I can get up right now, go home, change clothes, put on my running shoes, and go run 10 miles. Now, mind you, if I'm Todd will probably want to give me like 30 body shots for this. But this past fight, when I got that revenge fight, I ran one day. That one day I ran 10 miles. I ran 10 miles that one day. I'm like, you know what? I need to go run. Let me lace up these shoes. I ran 10 miles. I ran one day in that entire training camp. But in that training camp, I was doing 12 rounds of everything.
Right.
And I was going hard, because I know if I don't run, I need to do something that is going to build the strength in my legs. It's going to build the strength in my lungs. It's going to build that capacity. So whatever I do, it has to be at an intense rate, right? So that's what I did. 12 rounds of everything, and I ran that one day, 10 miles, So I take care of my body. It goes back to knowing how in tune I am with my body. Is like, I knew that I only ran that one day. So I know sparring, training, I have to do certain things in order to go, be able to go the distance. It was the same thing in that fight, but just to touch on that, but it's just preparation. You eat right, proper rest, praying, meditating, and just listening to your body. Your body will tell you everything you need to know. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I do in order to prep, even after the injuries and everything. Now, don't get me wrong, that hernia repair injury, that was
that's
big.
that's
People don't realize
that's tough business,
It
man.
is. It is, and it didn't
That's
hurt,
tough.
right? But you don't understand how much you use your stomach
It's
muscles.
everything, right? It's your
Everything you
whole
do
core.
involves sitting down right now. You're using your stomach
Yep.
muscles and don't even realize it.
Yep.
Every time you take a breath, every time you speak, your muscles, they do this. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? A lot of people don't even realize that. When you're sleeping, you're still using your muscles. When you go
That's
to turn
actually
on,
when your body's most active.
when it's most active.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? But man, when you go to roll over at nighttime and you forget, you can't use your stomach muscles. Oh my
Ooh-wee.
God. Let me tell you, I woke up out my sleep a couple times and just paced around the house, But after those injuries, it's just, self-care. Self-care, that's the biggest thing. Whether it's diet, exercise, meditation, praying, just self-care.
So let's go with, like, say, what is it, the game plan, right?
Mhm.
You go off of just what fits you. You go in with your game plan, or are you checking out what they do, or are you seeing where, how's that go in your camp, in your mind?
So I'm not gonna be one of those fighters that say I don't watch video.
Yeah.
The way you pass the test is you have to study,
Mhm.
right? So there's been a few, my pro debut, that opponent that I fought out of Philly, I studied him. I watched James Wesley because he fought Ali's grandson, who is taller than he is. I just wanted to see how he fought him, and
Isn't he in MMA now?
James Wesley.
No, the grandson of Muhammad Ali.
That I'm not sure. But I think those are the only two fighters that I've studied of
Okay.
my opponents, right?
Because I know, like,
Look it up.
with football,
Mhm.
there's
Oh yeah,
game plan all day.
you watch footage.
Yeah,
You
yep,
watch footage like
yep.
crazy. Same thing
Yeah,
with basketball.
Yep.
You
Film
watch
is
footage. Yep.
and Huddle makes it 10 times easier now,
Mhm.
man. Because now you watch the film, but now if you pay for it, you get the nice little thing that says the team runs left this percentage of the time
Yeah.
and this,
Mhm.
and so like you're watching it, but you also don't have to sit there and write all that stuff down anymore.
Right.
Now you can really just kind of dissect and watch the game, and
Yep.
you can just look at the numbers, right, and just kind of see like, all right, they run this a lot. All right, well, let me just watch and see if they do it well, what they do with this guy. And
Well, I
Right.
mean,
But yeah,
Coach
it's big
talked
time.
about it. Like, it's important, but what's more important is making sure these guys know how to watch film.
yeah,
They're
Absolutely.
just not staring at the screen.
Right.
They're noticing
Yep.
things
Right.
that they're supposed to be noticing.
And
Right.
that's important when it comes to studying film, no matter what
Yep.
sport you're in,
I would say
but
I'm
especially
sure.
fighting. Especially fighting, because all it takes in the sport of boxing is one punch.
Yep.
Matter of
One
fact,
mistake.
speaking of one punch, hey, shout out to that boy, Great Lakes King, Rico O'Quinn. I don't know if y'all caught that fight on Dazzin,
No.
but listen, hey, they was counting my man's out. They was counting the champ. Hey, they was counting him out. He was knocked down a couple times, but he came back, man, and one shot. He took a left hook to the face and turned on his right hand. Boom. Laid this guy out. Brought the strap home. Brought the strap home to the city. Shout out to you, my boy. But in the sport of boxing, and that proves it, that all it takes is one punch, right? Same thing with cage fighting. One kick, one punch.
Yep.
Facts. We've seen that.
We've seen it
Yep.
thousands of times over, right?
My God.
Thousands, and that's how it
Yep.
is.
Yep.
Thousands of times over. We've seen it, right? So studying is important if that's what you're gonna do, unless you're Floyd Mayweather, who adjusts to everything so quickly. But
And he's
more
even
importantly,
doing it too. He's watching film.
yeah, I mean, and he could say that he doesn't.
McGregor
but
watches film.
Yeah, I mean, all the greats have watched something,
Yeah.
whether it was a film or in person or
Right.
something. They've watched
Yep.
it, right? But most importantly, what Floyd does is he doesn't study his opponents too much. He studies himself,
I was just about to say,
which is what I do,
Yeah.
right? So if
Love
I'm
it.
studying my opponent, okay, I can see he's got a lazy jab. I know what I'm going to do with that. His feet are horrible. I'm about to dance circles around him. I'm gonna take him to the right, and I'm gonna cut back left and land something crazy, right? So I see that, but more importantly, I focus on myself because with that knowledge, I have to be able to do something to capitalize on his mistakes.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not just studying him, I'm studying what I would do for myself as well. Even when I'm sparring or something like that, I don't video record to show it on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I did. No, I don't post it. I keep it to myself and I study it. Where did I make a mistake at? Why did he hit me with this punch? Right. I remember throwing a lazy punch here and my feet I was off balance a little bit. So let me pay attention to my feet so that I don't make that mistake again. See what I'm saying? It's the small details that count and make the biggest impact when it comes to fighting. The smallest detail. And you wouldn't even think, right? If you just move your head slightly 4 inches to the right and someone misses you with a jab, there's so much you can do with that. You could throw a right cross to the body, which is all ribs. You could throw a right uppercut, which is the hardest punch to see coming and the hardest punch to defend. Or you could throw an overhand right if you're an orthodox fighter. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But there's just so much, just small details. 4 inches this way, you can knock somebody out. 3 inches this way, you can break somebody's ribs, hit them in the liver, shut down the whole body. You know? So it's just the small details that count, and footwork is important. So I don't just study my opponents to see what they do wrong. I study for myself, to know what I'm going to do.
I love that you say that because I want to bring us back a few years. McGregor fought Jose Aldo.
Mm-hmm.
So Jose Aldo at this time is the king. He's been the champion for 10 years. Nobody can beat this dude, right? McGregor's talking. You see him in the back. He's gotten Jose so out of his own character that he knows he's going to be aggressive and come forward. So you see him in the back doing a little twist and whapping him, doing a little twist, whapping him. 6 seconds into the fight, something like that. Jose Aldo comes in. McGregor does that little twist, whaps him. Done. Never the same again, Jose Aldo. Never got to that pinnacle ever again. He lost his next 4 fights, actually. So that's why I said I know McGregor watches film,
Right.
But he does exactly what you do. He studies that film to help himself react to what he needs to react to their weaknesses, right?
Yep.
I like that you went into depth about that.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, you don't have to watch film. Like I said, unless you have this thing where you can adjust on the fly. And don't get me wrong, I've seen a lot of fighters adjust on the fly. Rico Quinn, I seen him adjust on the fly at Garden Theater last year. I seen him adjust real quick, and Albert Bell from Toledo, Ohio, I see him adjust on the fly all the time. But most importantly, these fighters, they go in with their own game plan. They fight their own fight. Right. Albert is tall for his weight class. I think he's like 6'1", about 6'1". All right, he's tall for his weight class. He's very lightweight, but he fights his fight. So a lot of guys can't touch him. You know what I'm saying?
It's like Strickland in the UFC.
I mean, it's
Strickland. Literally, he's probably the best boxer in the UFC, and it's not because of his technique per se. It's because he puts so much pressure on you. It was a headset or a mouth guard they were wearing. The UFC's got these things where they can study your movement and stuff.
The mouth guards.
Yep. Well, apparently he strikes the most and he spars the most and he gets hit the least amount in the whole entire UFC. And he does nothing but spar.
Yeah.
That's the Tyson way.
And now he's the champion.
Yeah.
He just beat Izzy for the championship. And it was because he was smothering.
That's how
his own fight.
That's what Tyson used to do to you, man. Tyson's hands would be coming so fast at people and so hard that like most people, it was such a violent attack so quick. There was nothing, and it was because he would have the most insane sparring sessions that you were like, dude, this guy is like insane, like Mike Tyson. But then you watch him in a fight, and you're like, oh, okay, now I see it. Why because he trains insane, and then he gets in a ring and just pummels people.
Remember,
like just kills them,
Tyson
man.
Was always 90% of the time the little guy.
Yeah,
yeah.
He was the shortest guy, the smallest
and people always know him. I know people always know him as being big and tough, right? But I'm like, dude, his hands used to fly at 1,000
Mike
miles
Tyson's hands as a
an hour. It
heavyweight.
was crazy.
I won't even just say heavyweight. As a man personally, like his hands were so fast that he would throw 2 punches and make it sound like one.
For real, man.
Right? Like if you go back to 18-year-old Tyson, 19-year-old Tyson shadow boxing when Gus Amato was still alive, you go back to then and you see footage of him. You can find it on YouTube, right? One that sticks out of my mind, he had on blue shorts and a white tank top, shadow boxing, moving crazy fast. I'm like, man, if my hands were ever that fast, I would be a deadly weapon. You know what I'm saying? But again, he trained,
It was
you know,
crazy.
to his fight.
That man's
Yep.
story
You know what I
is
mean?
incredible.
That's facts.
Yes,
too.
it is.
It really is.
Yes,
Even
it
to
is.
See, he's
Yeah.
like the epitome of being a warrior in the garden versus
Absolutely.
a gardener in the war.
Shit,
Right?
I
Yeah.
love listening to
Yeah.
him
Me
today
too.
too, bro.
Yeah.
He's
I really do. His whole journey. We talk about how he was pretty much brainwashed to
Mhm.
be that savage dude, and then now him dealing with those repercussions of unraveling
Mhm.
all that stuff that made him that dude.
Yeah.
That I remember him going on Joe Rogan and being scared to fight Roy coming up, not because he was scared of Roy,
It was
but
because he was afraid of who
who
he
you had to
was
become.
gonna come out.
Yep.
You
Because
know.
a guy he fought years to stuff away in the closet.
Mhm.
He had to bring that killer out.
Exactly. And he doesn't like that person.
Right.
We come to find out.
Right.
Right. Because back in the day, you know, man, Tyson, that's the baddest man walking the face of the planet. He ain't afraid of
Straight up.
nobody.
Had anything you
And
could
he
ever
wasn't.
want.
But a lot of his success comes from his fear.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
The first time he was in a street fight, he knocked this kid out when all he was doing was throwing haymakers. He didn't know how to fight. The kid popped the head off his pigeon.
Yeah, he was
and
bullied.
that
Yeah.
triggered something. From that point forward,
Right.
street fighter. But
Right.
then he, you know, a family introduced him to Casamato, you know. From there it was history. But he is one man who I would listen to for hours on
All
end.
day.
I can listen to him because he's not just talking. He's actually dropping gems, you know.
Yeah.
He's
And
dropping
he's
gems.
looking
You can
around
learn
men
from if
like
you
Muhammad
listen.
Ali
Yeah.
and
Yep.
others like him. That's one dude I wish I could have met was Ali.
Muhammad Ali.
Just obviously it would have been cool just to meet him, shake his hand. At the later years, he couldn't really talk, but to have a full conversation when he was in
in his prime.
Right.
He, you know, he was just that dude. He was that dude for everything, social justice, for in the boxing ring. The fact that he stood up to the U.S. government,
Mhm.
that dude. I
Yeah,
love
and then
that dude.
disappeared.
Yeah.
Had to go disappear for
Yep.
a minute.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
They actually
came back to
imprisoned him.
boxing.
They
They
imprisoned
actually
him.
imprisoned him
Yep,
for
took him.
turning down going into
To
the
the
military to
draft,
fight a war
yep.
that wasn't his war.
Yep.
He was
Yep.
right.
Yep.
He was right.
Yep.
100%.
I don't listen.
I'm with it.
Why do you want this man to go and fight a war? You don't have enough troops. Why is he going over there? One man. You're singling out one man. Why? Because he's this prize fighter.
Yep.
He's a prize fighter. He's
Which
never
is-
shot a
Took
gun.
everything from him.
Yeah,
which
you
is
took
so
everything
odd,
from him for
man.
no reason.
Because
You know?
today, even though the world's messed up, today it would never happen just because of the TV money.
Mhm.
Like today, you know, everything's so much about money that they'd be like, no way in hell. They'd be like, no, he's a TV star.
he wouldn't go.
He's a
They
TV
wouldn't-
star. There's no way we could send him.
Yeah.
He's got to make his money.
Yep.
It's just crazy how the
Yeah.
world turns. Like,
Changes.
they were quick to
crazy.
send our prize fighter in today's world. It would never even come close to
It would
that
never
flying.
happen. But you know why they were doing that? A lot of call it conspiracy theorists, whatever. A lot of
Hey,
people.
There's some
listen,
truth to some of that,
There's
man.
a truth to a lot
There
of
is. There
it.
is.
To
I
a lot
agree.
of it,
Yep.
right? They're
I
putting stuff
agree.
in our faces every day.
Yep.
Every day.
They
You just gotta
made
look.
They just made a movie
You saw
called
that?
Oh,
Leaving
man.
Earth Behind or something like that, or
Leaving
Leaving the World Behind.
Yep.
Yep.
Man, what?
Yep. That's how it's
What?
gonna happen.
About
Man,
a
listen.
cyber attack.
Listen,
That's how it's gonna happen if it
man,
happens.
look.
They
So
gave us the blueprint.
the
right
That's
reason why,
scary,
and
man.
they've been giving us the blueprint for
On
over
everything.
30 years.
forever.
On everything.
Over 40 years.
Yep.
Hell, what am I talking about? Probably 50, 60 years.
Yeah,
But the reason why, not to cut you
Go ahead.
off, reason why they came to him and said, we need you to go and fight this war, think about this. And this is deep. This if people are already hip, this will rattle their brain. Think about Tupac. Think about Biggie. Even though some people say that they were sacrificed, think about how many followers they had, right? Any and everybody listen to Tupac. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the moment he started speaking and people started listening, when he got blacks, whites, Hispanics, he got everybody in the world listening to him.
To jam to him.
That's powerful. Muhammad Ali was a prize fighter, one of the greatest to ever do the sport of boxing, fight the sport of boxing, right? He had a huge following. So when he started talking, people started listening.
I get where you're going with
You
this.
see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So think about all of these people that we've known and seen, whether they were an athlete, a rapper, an actor, a scientist, radio host, whoever. Think about all these people that started speaking and people started listening and started following. What happened to them?
Canceled.
They're gone. They're not here, right?
Yep.
Right.
Everybody from Tupac to Biggie.
When you get that much,
canceled or killed.
You know what I'm saying? To Nipsey, to Muhammad Ali. Oh, you talking, people are following you. Come fight this war. Oh, you don't want to go? Prison.
I got a conspiracy
That's
theory
real.
about the Tupac Biggie thing.
That's real.
I mean, that's
big.
just
Who, out of curiosity, because I don't want to forget, who was the guy? Remember the guy? I can't remember his name, but he beat Ali when Ali came back, and Ali looked really rough, and he kind of beat him up, and then Tyson beat the hell out of that guy, and the whole world. It wasn't Leon or Lenny. Yeah, and he whispers in his ear right before the fight, and he's talking about get that guy for me.
I know.
I just heard it on the Joe Rogan podcast not too long ago when I was listening to Joe Rogan and heard it mentioned on there too. But I remember going, because I'm a big Tyson guy. I've always loved Mike Tyson, and I just remember sitting there being like, what a freaking awesome time in the world to watch, because the world was rooting for Ali, right? So for Ali to lose like that, look bad, and then for Tyson to get that revenge, that's sweet revenge there, man.
What's crazier, think about, Ali Foreman, right? And then that Vin Foreman, he's making the shittiest grill anybody could ever make. Making millions off the shittiest grill of life. No temperature gauges.
Hey, listen, we had one of them damn things growing up, though.
Dishwasher. So did I.
Listen.
My mama put the patty together, stick it on the thing, hit the button, and let's go.
Burnt. All the outsides were burnt. Of
inside pink.
Listen, I can honestly say I haven't used a Foreman grill, but you will be the first person I hear say that, and that's just funny. That's
tears,
funny,
man. That's a good one.
That's funny. Let's shift gears to a different. So I'm gonna take us back a little bit in time, not too far, to the Tyson Francis Ngannou fight. Tyson Fury, Francis Ngannou. I want to talk about that, and then I want to talk about Jake Paul and get your opinion on that whole thing.
Okay.
So first, let's talk about the Tyson Fury fight. I know how me and Coach feel.
Francis was robbed.
Yes,
bad,
very much,
really bad.
But does it matter though?
Does it shock you that this man
came
from zero boxing matches? Yes, he was the UFC heavyweight champion, but zero boxing to damn near taking the king out.
But I almost feel like he won.
I do. He
did win.
If we're looking, regardless of how they marked it on the book, because he's gonna get another fight.
Oh yeah,
he's gonna get paid.
Absolutely,
right? The world knows. We saw it, right?
Yeah.
You could put whatever you want down on a piece of paper, but we saw it. We know what happened.
Exactly. And that goes back to politics. But the world saw.
Yep.
Tyson Fury was exposed.
Yeah.
Right. He was exposed. Now, the up and coming heavyweight fighters, if they were smart, study that film.
You have been put on notice.
Study that film. If you haven't already, and you're looking to take the top of that throne, study that film.
I also heard that match might happen again.
If it does,
I heard Tyson doesn't want it or wouldn't want it, but the Saudi Arabia stuff over there that they would pay to have a big
They
time
would-
fight.
dudes are
Listen,
paying-
And they would pay to have that
they are willing
rematch
to
over
pay
there.
over $1 billion to see that.
Tyson like shit. Where I sign up at, I'll
Man,
take
hey,
that.
that's what that-
We go round 2,
No,
round
so
3.
That's what I would
so
say.
think about this.
Right.
They're not going to spend that money unless they're going to make that plus.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably almost double.
Right.
Floyd trying to get on the
Right,
card.
listen,
Everybody
hey,
trying to get on the
everybody,
card.
put
My
me
man
in.
trying
Y'all
to get
need-
on the
y'all need
card,
somebody?
right.
Hey, I don't care who I fight. Hey, listen. Hey, I train
Yeah.
as hard as I possibly can and put on a good show. Just put me
I
in,
love it.
coach. You know what I'm saying?
Who
But-
does Francis go? What's his next move?
So he's signed to the PFL. This was a special event, the boxing
Right.
match. It was a special thing that the PFL allowed to happen. They got to find fighters that are willing to fight him in the PFL.
Right.
Because the way that works is it's tournament based.
But he can't step out again.
Oh, he can. I'm
Oh,
sure they'll let him.
Another
gate is
big
open
time
now.
payday to
The
go.
UFC wouldn't. They if he would have signed with the UFC, no way that would have happened. That fight, that boxing match would have never
Okay.
happened. But because he signed with the PFL, that was kind of part of their contract, from what I understand, is that he could go out and look for boxing matches.
UFC
because it's different. And so with the PFL, it's not like the UFC where it's going to be just because he's ranked number 1 or 2, he fights the champ. You start off in a tournament, you make it, you win the tournament, you win the belt and $1 million. Then we start again.
Right.
New tournament, you make it to the championship or you don't. There is no defending the title.
I like the cross fights, man. Like I'm not gonna lie. I know it didn't turn out to be the greatest fight, but I loved when we were about to watch McGregor and Floyd fight.
that
Like
was fun, but I still
it
think
didn't live up to it, so we can
Right.
all kind of sit here now and be like, yeah, it wasn't that great.
But,
But
again,
like
what
I
did you
remember the weeks
expect?
leading up, I was like,
Right.
oh, this is sweet, man.
Yeah.
Like Connor stepping up out of the UFC.
I mean,
Floyd's
it
still
was
about
fun.
to beat him, but whatever.
yeah, right. And I think
But
like,
I was like,
and
this
it is
cool.
like what you said. What do you expect? But it will be the same thing
if
if the roles were reversed.
Here's
right,
what-
if
here's
Floyd
what I
stepped in
think.
the
I think-
octagon.
See what I'm saying?
Well, yes. Floyd, I think, helped carry McGregor through all those rounds. Not all of them. McGregor did his
he
part.
did help him
but
a little bit.
There was.
He-
It's like when I forget who it was fought Logan Paul. Floyd
Floyd,
fought
yeah.
Logan, and you can see in the video Logan goes limp for a second, and Floyd holds him up and says something in his ear, and here we're back again.
there-
So I believe
I agree
Floyd
with
is a
that.
money man, right?
Right.
there's a yep.
And
Yeah.
and Jake, I think, is a different story than Logan. Logan's doing things for publicity.
Right.
Wrestling, that dude is a fantastic wrestler. He
Mhm.
went into the WWE. It's like that's what he was born for.
It's probably a good spot
It
for
really
him.
is. That's
Right.
where that dude belongs in sports. He
Okay.
belongs in the WWE. But he's also a show guy.
Right.
They're gonna do these things purely for the show. Floyd's gonna carry me this far. Just put on a good show. It doesn't matter if I knock him out or get knocked out. We're here for the show. Jake, on the other hand, I feel is trying to be real. Even though he's fighting, he's doing what I think he should do. You're not gonna take a fight being early, knowing you're gonna lose it, right?
right. But see, my
He just fought a boxer. that was
opinion on that.
10-1,
Right.
a boxer.
Yeah.
I don't like neither of the Pauls.
Neither do
I'm not saying that Jake
Neither do
Paul
I.
is like,
I'm gonna be
oh my
honest. I don't
God, he's
like
a
them
good
dudes.
boxer, but I'm saying that he's, from what I understand, he's taking it serious,
Mhm.
working with the right guys that he should be working with if he wants to win a title at some point in his life.
Right.
And he's only, 25, 24,
Something like
something
that.
like
Yeah.
that. I can see it happening if he keeps putting that same effort.
Well, see, I mean, he has money.
Yes,
Right.
correct,
He's already famous.
correct.
Okay, so if he throws enough money at somebody,
He's paying.
let's
these
just be
dudes, too.
real. If he throws enough money at someone's gonna pick up that phone.
Yes,
You see
no
what I'm
matter
saying?
what.
No matter what.
No matter what. Same way we
He's
talked about
paying
the
these
Saudis.
guys- And I'm gonna just keep he's paying these guys to take these dives. I don't care what
That's what
nobody
you-
says.
That's what you think?
I don't care what no one says. Now I'm not saying all of them.
Yeah.
Right. But there's a few that I've seen that was like, bro, really?
Well,
I mean, you can see that plain as day. You just gonna drop your hands and let him hit you. You know what's coming.
That was Ben Askren.
You know
or
what
you
I'm saying?
talking about Kamaru?
Huh?
Are you? I mean, you're talking.
I'm talking about Tyson
Tyrone.
Woolley
Tyrone.
or Tyrone.
Tyrone
Yeah, Tyrone
Woodley,
Woolley.
Yeah. Yo.
Like,
I knew.
come
I
on,
remember
man.
that. I see that.
like that
knew
right there.
exactly what he
That's
was talking about.
like I don't care how much you're paying me, right? I don't care if you're paying me.
Yeah, don't go down like
You're getting $1 million either way.
That's
But if you let
ugly.
me knock you out, I'll give you 5. Now, a lot of people will say, "Oh man, you stupid if you don't take that," right? But again, we're talking about the sport of boxing. Don't make a mockery of it,
Right.
right? That's something. Boxing is something that I'm passionate about.
Mhm.
You know, and a lot of greats have put in so much time, efforts, and work and training into this sport that we love so much. Don't make a mockery of it. And that was my biggest thing with the Paul brothers.
Okay.
You're making a mockery of this sport, right?
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, Jake is actually getting better as time goes on, right? He's actually getting better. Like this last fight, I was not expecting it to end like that. Like he actually put some punches together, and then that uppercut was just, it came out of nowhere. It was vicious. Remember earlier I said it's the hardest punch to see coming and it's the hardest one to defend. And he just threw it at the perfect time, laid this guy flat out.
Yep.
You know, so he's getting a lot better as he, you know, goes on.
So
you
his opinion, we asked the same question to Bronco on the Kicking It with Coach K podcast, Sundays at 7. But no, we asked Bronco the same thing, and Bronco kind of gave that super similar answer to that. He was
I want to play a little devil's advocate with that though, right?
Okay.
So yes, you feel like they're making a mockery, but
just to be
hasn't-
clear, I
hasn't
agree with that.
boxing kind of gone like fallen out of grace, if we want to say
So
that.
it depends
So
on how you
aren't
look
they
at that.
putting new eyes, which the boxing world needs.
Bronco also did mention that
on
too,
to the boxing scene.
that they are bringing attention.
They're bringing
Francis
they're bringing more
Ngannou
attention
fight
because
never happens if the Jake Pauls aren't doing this.
if the Conor McGregors, if the Conor McGregors aren't doing this, right?
Okay,
Because
I can give you that. He did it first.
well,
with
first it was
Floyd.
the
He did.
exhibition match. Floyd took the fight over in Japan, right? Beat that little guy up. So
Yeah,
bad,
man,
right?
I don't even know
he
that dude's
just-
name, but
he-
he torched that
yeah,
guy.
I
man,
forgot
you know,
about
he
that.
just
Come on,
put
Floyd.
him there on the grill and lit him on fire, right?
Come on,
So it
Floyd.
started with that exhibition fight. Then all of a sudden,
He's a
Conor McGregor is calling out Floyd Mayweather. Now, to touch on what you said earlier, we all knew how it was going to end. Conor McGregor
Right.
was going to go in there, try to knock him out,
Yep.
tire himself out, and Floyd's just going to take off.
Facts.
Yep.
Floyd was
Exactly
going
what
to play
happened.
defense and do his thing.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Exactly what happened. Then you get the Paul brothers coming in. I want to fight. Okay, you want to fight. All right, cool. But you're going to fight a basketball player who is how much shorter than you? Come on. We all knew no matter how athletic Nate Robinson is, and my hat goes off to him.
Hey,
First
I
of
was
all,
cheering
all
for him,
respect to
though.
him. I was cheering for him just because come on. I was cheering for him, right? But I take my hat off to him. But we go from Floyd and then the Conor McGregor and Floyd, right? So we already knew when McGregor was like, yeah, Floyd, I'll kick your ass. Oh, man. All right. Here comes this gate opening. And now it just opens the gate to a whole new world now. And it was a smart money move. I didn't realize it at the time, but it was a smart money move on both ends, right? When Dana White figured out, man, I can get rich off of this. When Mayweather was like, okay, this guy, he a cage fighter. He can't beat me in a boxing match. How much money will this raise? How much money will be put in my hand at the end of this night, right? Just think about it.
You're right.
If you're a cage fighter
You are
fan, a lot of times you're not going to care about what's on boxing.
No,
If you're a
You
boxing
don't.
fan,
that's me.
listen,
Real life.
and that's me.
I love
And that's me with
UFC.
boxing. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, there's a couple names that I know that if their fight is on or something like
Same.
that, some of my homies, my brothers, they'll be like, hey, you guys
Right.
want to come over and watch the fight? Yeah, I'll come over and I'll watch it. But other than that, man, I'm boxing. I don't care about what's going on in that cage. But when the two worlds collide and come together,
It's cool.
it's amazing.
I like
right?
it.
It's
Boxers will
amazing.
Get in the cage.
I
though.
like it.
And see that right there, listen.
There ain't no chance.
I
Unless
don't
you're
I don't
knocking 'em
think
out.
yeah, I don't think it would happen, you know, because
I think
personally,
Tyson
I've seen
Fury
what those
gets
leg
knocked out
kicks
by
do.
Habib.
Oh man, I see
And
Tyson
Habib's
Fury's
150.
legs getting kicked from up under him.
Tyson's done. Yeah,
Man, it's
Tyson
over.
can't get in the ring.
If Francis
He goes
hits him
down.
with one
he
of them
takes a kick,
kicks
right
in the
it's over.
leg,
Yep.
that lead leg, it's over.
There's no way.
Tyson gonna fall over like a statue.
No way.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep. There's no
There's
way.
talk of them doing something similar to that,
Mhm.
the crossover, but I doubt it happened.
And it may not happen, but it would bring in more money. But we've already, I think, me personally, even with as confident as I am, we know if Floyd was to get in that cage, even a year after he fought McGregor with nothing but, MMA training, jiu-jitsu training and everything like that, I think he would still revert back to his boxing. And what Floyd is best known for is his defense.
Facts.
People call it running. Oh, he ran the whole time.
No, sir.
No, this is being smart. There's
He's-
a reason. There's a
yup.
reason why he was able to get out with 50 fights.
Facts.
And there's people prior to him, many greats that had a far better record than Floyd Mayweather, right?
Yeah.
And they 80, 90, 120 fights, but he did it in a smart way to where he's still able to live his life, a long life, be able to see his grandkids grow, and still make a ton of money. He did it the smart way. Some people may not like it. I mean, hell, I didn't even like some of the fights that he handpicked at certain times. I would much rather see him fight Pacquiao in his prime.
Oh,
But
yeah.
like you said,
fight
that's
Miguel
why
Cotto years before, and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, everyone has their own opinions and whatnot, but that's just me personally. But he
Pacquiao
did it
fight
the
was-
smart way.
that Pacquiao fight was terrible.
It was horrible.
It was like the
It was
worst
horrible.
boxing match.
It was
I was so mad. I was like, oh,
I
these
was-
two are
yeah, I
coming
was
together.
heated.
This is gonna be sweet. And then as soon as I saw him get in the ring, I was like, this shit's not gonna be cool.
Yeah,
I
I was
seen-
like, damn it, man.
I'd
I wasted
seen
money on this
Pacquiao-
pay-per-view.
Pacquiao got knocked out
Mhm.
shortly before that, right? Within the fight or two.
Yeah, he,
Pacquiao, I think the fight before that,
it was,
Yeah.
he got
and
knocked
he
out.
looked very bad in that fight.
Yeah.
that he got knocked out.
on that fight, he had his hands down a lot too.
But you know what? What you just said though, part of that was why Floyd was able to make money and go 50-0 because he was very, very selective and
He was selective at the right time.
he- like you
he
said,
did what he had to do.
hate him,
you know?
love him.
Hate
He
him or
did
love him,
things
but he
that
did it.
fit him. Right?
Exactly.
I'm gonna do what makes
me
money, what makes me successful.
Yeah.
I don't mind his business plan and the way he went
No,
about
It
it.
got
is
him
what
where
it
he's
is,
at.
I'm a Floyd fan.
It's one of those things where like you're only going to be sad or mad at yourself for not reaching where you wanted to
Right.
be because
Yep.
somebody told you to slow down.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Who the fuck are
Definitely.
you to tell me to slow down or do it a different way? I'm here
Nope.
at the top
Yep.
talking as Floyd.
It's my journey. It's my journey.
His biggest thing, but flying on the jets
Mhm.
with the big guys, with the millionaires.
Mhm.
I saw an interview. He
Like
said
money.
that's what changed his life.
Mhm.
Is he got jealous and wanted his own jet,
Yeah.
so he needed to start having conversations of how to do this.
Mhm.
That's what people forget.
Yeah.
He's more than a boxer. His legacy comes. That's only a part of it.
Yeah.
His legacy is way more than that.
Way more.
Way more.
And there's there's a lot of people, and millionaires will tell you this. If you want to be in a room full of millionaires or billionaires, you have to think outside the box. You have to think of, okay, what is it that I have to do or say in order to put me in that room? I just need to get my foot in that door. If that door is closed, what do I need to do in order to have it open just to get a foot in? Because if I can get my foot in the door, right? If I can get my foot in the door, then I have access to whatever is in that room, right?
Right.
Conversations can be endless. You see what I'm saying? So that goes back to Floyd's mindset. This guy got a jet, man. I don't want to fly in your jet. I want my own. What do I got to do to get my own jet? Right?
And then do what it takes to
do what it do. Put in the time that it takes and the dedication, the commitment, the sacrifice that it takes in order to be able to get that jet. Andrew Tate, he wanted to go to a certain meeting, right? But he couldn't. You want to know why? It's because he didn't have a Bugatti.
Yes.
His first thought,
Yep.
what do I need to do to get a Bugatti? Because they don't just give Bugattis to anybody. That's a fact. They don't give Bugattis to anybody. There's something that you have to have in order to get a Bugatti. You see what I'm saying? So Andrew Tate figured that out. And then guess what? He pulls up to this huge facility, whether it was a mansion or whatever. He's got a Bugatti, brand new. Now he has his foot in the door of all of this knowledge, endless conversation, right?
All because he found the key.
Because he found the key.
Yep.
He found out what it was that he needed to do in order to get attain a Bugatti. And not every key is the same.
Yep.
Every key ain't gonna unlock.
But you got to put yourself in those rooms.
You got to put yourself in the rooms. You
As
got to
a-
be willing.
as a-
First things first is you have to be willing to step outside of your comfort zone. That's what I mean by thinking outside of the box.
I love that though, man.
And a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people are not willing to do that. A lot of people are not willing to take themselves out of their comfort zone because of the fear of failing.
Yep. Because of what other people.
Because of what other people will say.
Yep.
Right. And it doesn't help by this. You know, this makes it 10 times worse because now not only are they afraid of what you might say to them in the street or when you run into them at Kroger, now they worried about the reactions on the post, how you gonna, what you gonna put about them on here.
And that's the thing. Like, I don't care to offend anybody because one thing that I know for certain is that just as much as I can dish it out, I can take it.
Right, facts.
I can take it. There's nothing that you're gonna be able to tell me about me that I may or may not already know.
Love it.
So I'm gonna take it as you say it, dissect it, and think about it long and hard until I figure out, like, okay, that's his opinion. Cool.
But
maybe is he right though?
Yep.
Right. But a lot of people are not willing to step outside of that comfort zone. A lot of people not willing to look in the mirror. Right. And me and my brother, Frankie, we said 6 years ago when I first met him, people become complacent. They become comfortable with contentment. Right. Contentment breeds comfortability. But comfortability also breeds fear. Because when you're comfortable and content with where you are, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to take that extra step and go the extra mile to step outside of that comfort zone and risk it all for something that you want to do. A lot of the millionaires and billionaires, they took sacrifice and they took that risk. They didn't get where they are by just sitting down and listening to everybody else. You know what I mean? They took the risk, and that's what it takes in life. You have to be able to be willing to take the risk in order to be successful.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Great message.
This is what it is,
Fucking hey, dude, this has been a great conversation, man.
It has, man. I enjoy it.
We were there too, yeah. Unfortunately, it is
man.
Time
hey, we got on the sport of boxing, and this
is great.
It was from there, man.
This has been a great,
this was
great
awesome
conversation. So to end this, let everybody know how to find you, all your social medias if you want to put them out there. Or
all right.
Else. Any final thoughts you want to wrap up or say real quick?
Okay. You can find me on both Facebook and Instagram at Matthew MOG Niziolek, or I think it says Matthew Niziolek MOG.
Yeah.
On both pages. I accept pretty much every request, unless of course it's a fake profile, or I ain't gonna lie to you, if you got like 11 accounts, I'm not gonna add you again. That's just one of my uncles. I don't even know if I have him on Facebook anymore, but I know he got about 12 accounts. And if I see his name pop up again in my friend request list, sorry, Unc, I love you, but hey, I'll catch you at the next barbecue. But I pretty much accept every request and everything like that. I follow back on Instagram. The next fight is to be announced as of right now. I'm not sure on an exact date. I know there's a show going on in January. I believe it's out in Lansing. I may or may not be a part of that. Not sure just yet. But if not, then I'll definitely be back in March. I'll be ready to put in some work. And just to wrap things up, man, I want to say something real quick that, I talk about just about every day, but is parenting. These kids, man, a lot of these kids are lost nowadays, right? And you hear it and you've heard it for years and years and years. And I'm gonna say this, and I don't care who I offend. Okay, I don't care, right? Men, if you watching this and you have kids, take care of your kids. I don't care what the relationship is between you and the mother, you and the family, whatever you got going on in life. Those kids did not ask to be here. Take care of your kids, because I'm gonna tell you like this. Even if you're not with the mother of those children, a child without a father, a lot of times is a lost cause. They end up maybe gang banging, selling drugs, doing drugs in prison, getting in trouble all the time.
Statistics say
Statistics.
fatherless kids. What was it? It's like 70% of prisons, 77%. Yeah, 77% of prisons are filled with fatherless
people, men and women, right?
Yep.
And this is a subject I could talk about all day, but I'll say, especially within my culture, the Black community, like we just have to do better, right? Parents in general have to do better. There's no reason why a 5-year-old girl should be knowing how to twerk or even know what it is, right?
Right.
And again, it comes without having a father in the picture. It doesn't matter if you are with this woman or not. As long as you're taking care of your child and doing what you are supposed to be doing as a man and taking care of your responsibility and raising your child, things will be way different. Way different. I'm hard on my kids. I love my kids. Don't get me wrong. I love my kids, but I'm hard on them. And they'll tell you that I'm hard on them, but it's for a reason.
Yep.
I've experienced life. I'm still experiencing life. I've seen friends go down the wrong path. Family members go down the wrong path. I'm hard on my kids, and more so on my son. The reason why I'm hard on my son is because I would much rather whoop his behind, be hard on him when it comes to discipline or whatever I need to do in order to get through his mind, so that he doesn't have to stand in front of a judge one day who ain't going to show him any mercy. And the society is only going to look at him as another statistic, another Black kid from the ghetto. And he don't come from the ghetto. He from Monroe. Monroe ain't got no ghetto,
I feel that.
But it's for that reason. So men more so, but also women too, put your personal feelings aside and let that man be a father.
Yep.
Put your personal feelings aside and realize what's most important for that child, because at the end of the day, only person that loses is that child. The only person that loses is that child or those children. Every single time.
Yep.
Every single time, man.
Great message.
I'm not perfect by any means. By any means. I made some mistakes as a father, but guess what? Nobody ever taught me how to be a father. Nobody taught me to be a man. Everything I know to be a man and be a father, I got that on my own. What I did is I watch. I've always been a people watcher. I watch the household that I grew up in. Excuse me. I watch the men around me. I watch and I observe and I study. I taught myself how to be a man. I taught myself how to be a father. There's no book on being the perfect parent. Let me say that again. There's no book on being a perfect parent, right? There's no such thing. And we're all learning day by day. Why are we still learning day by day? Is because we're constantly growing as people, right? The day you stop learning is the day you stop growing.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
We can all agree to that.
100%.
So humans, men and women, be better parents, because we have to protect our kids, man. And our kids are the future. They're the ones that are going to run this world one day, make the laws, Be better parents. That's if you don't take nothing else, I don't care if you didn't listen to the rest of the podcast and what I had to say, what we had to say, take that. Be better parents.
Listen to the whole podcast. You'll get a bunch of
a lot of good information.
This was incredible
throughout this.
Bro, this was
absolutely, man.
And I know we're getting out of here, but we got to get you on the podcast, the Kicking It with Coach K podcast too, man. Just because it's a platform we can continue conversation, and just this was a good time. So
yeah, man, just let me know.
Appreciate you guys.
Let me know when I'll make time. When
definitely
it is what it is.
Let's see that. What's up, Night Train? I can't read what he says from back here, but appreciate everybody for showing out.
Deep
coming
thoughts.
up. Deep thoughts. Yep. Night Train.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate everybody. Thank you again, Matt.
Thanks, Frankie. Thank you for letting me on. Yes, sir.
Yep. Thank you guys.
Absolutely. Hey, that's one solid and loyal brother right there, man. I tell you what, that's my guy. And one more thing real quick, if I can give a shout out to sports managing group, SMG Sean Jordan. Shout out to you, man, for sponsoring me in my last fight. Shout out to the local laborers 499 for sponsoring my last fight. Shout out to Tino Amaya, who's sponsoring me for this upcoming fight, my next fight that I have.
Big time.
I greatly appreciate y'all. Heidi Jordan, thank you. Sean's wife, thank you for looking out for me and making sure I got those massages and everything I need to loosen my muscles and whatnot. I thank y'all, man, from the bottom of my heart. Love you guys, man. God bless.
All right. See you next week, guys.
See you guys next week.
Brought to you by Brain Jerk. Fuck yeah.